cut the dang. Cut. Hold on. God. Cut the dang music. What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing great. I know I am. I'm doing all right, at least. Happy Friday. Figured I'd do a surprise live stream and talk about a few things. Number one, got a new iPhone. Pretty cool. Pretty all right. Honestly, the new one is actually just it's just a replica of the old one with a slightly different back and an extended platform on which the camera is, and you know, a white little MacBook looking bottom thing, and they don't have black. I don't know. It's the 17 Pro Max. Great for filming though. There's a couple really cool features. That's been fun. Libido. My libido has been exceptionally high. I guess I can give you guys a protocol update. Pretty much nothing's changed since the last time I've talked to you guys about it. It's going to be 2 months. 10th of August of 250 a week for me. 1 injection, Cypionate. 75 IU HCG as needed, really, to keep testicular size good. Libido's fucking high as hell. It's better than on, you know, 150 every 5th or any TRT protocol like that I've been on. It's probably comparable to when I went on 70 milligrams every 4th day. Just ended up in great ratios where libido was great, and comparable to some prop dosing that I've done, and relatively comparable to 5 clicks, 100 milligram cream and 330 IU HCG per day. But this is like a different level. It's probably better than all those. The erections, wow, they are Cialis level. That's what I really enjoy about it. The whole purpose for me, again, was anabolism, and it's summertime, you know. On cream, I really wasn't able to put muscle on unless, you know, I ran some Anavar or something. I could maintain where I was, but that's kind of it. And I was interested in, you know, hey, let me see if I can put a little muscle on. Let me see if I can do a little something. Once a year, you know, I'll do it. Probably won't stay at 250, go back down to 200, no less though, because the erections are just fucking stellar. I love it. For me personally, I also want to see, you know, over time, okay, where does hematocrit go? I've ran cycles, you know, hematocrit ultimately went a little bit over range there. And some other things got slightly skewed on cycle, but on 250 things look borderline, but good. So I'm excited about that. Otherwise, yes. Listen, libido to me, this is largely a central nervous system phenomenon. And that is what people have to understand. But what it doesn't mean is it doesn't mean that you have to approach it from the perspective of like modulating dopamine. Yeah, with mucuna purines or cabergoline or any of these things. In fact, cab is really not the best libido modulator. You know, if your prolactin is high, yes, it will increase libido. Your refractory period will lessen, but cabergoline is not really useful in increasing libido. It's not as if you're just giving yourself more dopamine. You're not. You're just agonizing with the drug, D2 receptors in your pituitary, you know. Studies really don't suggest it's like acting like dopamine elsewhere in the brain. So that's kind of not it, but it's a central nervous system phenomenon. And the truth of the matter that I want folks to understand is that in order to get libido that is insane on TRT, you can do this with just test and a little bit of HCG. Most of this has to do with your injection protocol. That's it, you know, or your general protocol. Is it enough androgens? Okay. Are your androgens in ratio with your estradiol that is favorable for your body? There's nothing that will increase libido more than that, by the way. Right? If your androgens are in the perfect ratio or close to the sweet spot ratio to your estradiol, oh my God. If you're able to achieve that, the kind of libido that you can achieve, it's insane. It's insane. It's the kind of libido we all want. At the same time, though, there is something to say. Sorry, I'm wearing a black shirt, so every single damn fuzz here. And I have a cat on top of it. There is something to say for an androgenic threshold for libido, too. You know, and people's are different. I mean, there are people that inject a little bit of test. 115, 120 a week. Libido's sky high. I'm not one of those people unless I can, in that case, bring in a lot of HCG that covers the gaps. Libido is high. But for others, they're going to need a lot of tests. They're going to need particularly supraphysiologic peaks. And a big part of keeping the ratios in check is having a trough. You know, as I explained recently, the reason I couldn't suggest when I was doing nootropics consulting for Silicon Valley entrepreneurs that they continue using the same stack is because whether it was a serotonergic, cholinergic, or dopaminergic stack, their brains would downregulate the response to the stack if they took it too consistently. And that's kind of the same thing that happens if you inject testosterone every day of your life, you know. And specifically, you never trough. Your levels are the same throughout the course of a day, which with very, very minimal variations, you know. With TRT, although allegedly it works for some people, doing that doesn't work for a lot of people. I can say that for sure. It doesn't mean it doesn't work for everybody and that everyone should be on larger gapped out injections. I'm just repeating an observation I've seen in coaching that I think is worth noting for people, especially people that are having problems on daily injections. If you go peruse the last 3-4 months that I've been talking about this more, that I've circled back around this. I mean, the last time I discussed higher doses was probably a couple of years ago. You'll see people going, hey, man, I tried it. It worked. I get clients all the time. They'll book me for coaching or a consult, but they'll say, before I booked you, man, I actually took your latest advice on injecting a bolus and trying to gap it out, and things are already better. And now I want to refine it. It's just one of those things that folks need to think about. We're not on TRT to get like to have mediocre, lukewarm libido. You know, well, fuck, we're injecting test, boys. We want our libido to be like sky high. It's absolutely positively achievable if you're willing to suspend your beliefs about what may be good for you, about what's normal or considered normal in the TRT community. If you're willing to suspend some of your beliefs that some admittedly well-meaning YouTubers may have trained you to believe, you know, that you should have daily injections and a steady concentration, that's the best way to do it. If you're willing to suspend your beliefs that you don't tolerate high doses, at one point, I didn't tolerate high doses. At various points, everybody who does high doses or bolus doses of test at once couldn't tolerate it. How do they tolerate it now? They figured it out, right? Over time, your body adjusts. So if you're willing to suspend your beliefs on some of these things, peak libido on TRT, believe me, can happen. It can happen. And it doesn't really require massive manipulation, depending on how you aromatize, right? My libido is disturbing at 9 o'clock in the morning when I am trying to do work. It fucking disturbs me. 250 test once a week. You know, the curve goes like that, but it's not that's not that big. It's about a 400 or 500 nanogram per deciliter difference between peak and trough. That's just enough for me to not to keep the response from androgens sensitized. Right? Like if I do everyday injections, I start getting sensitized to the response. It's just not the same. Nor do I get nearly enough testosterone for great libido erections. Everything will be lukewarm. It'll work, but not great. I mean, we want it to be fucking awesome. So just keep that in mind, boys. You want the diamond cutters, brothers. The peak anabolism. Well, that's what this course is for. That's what this is for. You know, those of you interested in doing that, you're just tired of playing with small doses of TRT and you can't get dialed in, just get high dose TRT mastery. All right. It's a video course explains you how to do it. I'll leave that on the screen. All right. Let's see if I can get the questions here. I know there are a few. I know I'm catching you guys on a Friday, so I'll just talk about as many valuable things as I can if there aren't a bunch of questions coming through. But in the meantime, let's get to some. Joe, do you think it's worth getting all estrogen markers checked or just estradiol? I think it's very rare that you find yourself in an instance where you need to look at estrone or estriol. That's what I would say. Yeah. I think that in any problem that you can't solve, you want to look at all the variables. But with those two, only in the instance that you've looked at every other variable, because the majority of the time, it will be another variable besides elevated estrone or estriol. Yeah, those don't often really play a role. So, no, I don't check them. I don't think that it's useful to check them. I think it's useful to go through, a variety of other strategic approaches first. Is that even a thing that can come off? What the hell is that thing? Jesus. What do I got? Like a fucking Snickers bar attached to my shirt here? Is that a nut from a Snickers bar? I don't know what that is. Run through everything else first. And then maybe look at estriol, estrone. But if you run through everything else, you'll fix the problem. If you gap out your frequency, like if you're doing daily injections and nothing works, your numbers look fine. But you don't have libido or erections. More tests at once. That's probably going to fix both the libido and the erection problem. Or maybe just the erection problem. Then you dial in the libido, because that's a central nervous system thing, by further tuning your ratios in, which you can manipulate with HCG as well as with injection frequency. But potentially Proviron, potentially Mastron, potentially Primobolan, man. But no, I don't think that those estrogen markers should be concerned. Estradiol, at this point, I haven't looked at it on this 250 test dose because I don't need to, but I will look at it when I need to. I'll look at it for a snapshot if erections start failing, which would be the indicator that estradiol has gone too high for DHT. At this point, more than 6 weeks in, I don't think that's going to happen. So I really don't care where it is. It's not like I have a fucking prolactinoma and I'm concerned about estrogen causing increased prolactin. I don't have, estrogen sensitive breast cancer, so I'm not concerned. I never really got gynecomastia like symptoms, with the exception of like the first 3-4 months on TRT. I had itchy nipples and things like that. And then that kind of all went away. So, I haven't looked at estradiol, but you absolutely should when it's necessary, right? If you suspect that estradiol in its plasma reading is relevant to how you're feeling and functioning, which would be based almost solely on where DHT is and sexual function, then yes, look at it. Yeah, we can't ignore it for sure. But it's just a diagnostic tool to determine what might be going on and to learn things about yourself. How much can you tolerate estradiol with how much androgens? Like on TRT, immediate dose of TRT 140 or something, I can't really tolerate much estradiol. It's got to be like 30, 35. At 175, it could be 40, 45, no more. If it goes to 50 on 175 attached, or 55, call it. That's when erections start failing. On 250 attached, again, I haven't looked at it, but I could probably tolerate about 65, 70 picograms per milliliter, or something like that. It's all relevant to your DHT until you cross a certain threshold of hyperestrogenism, in which case you're not going to be able to have enough DHT to counteract the negative erectile properties of estradiol. Hope that makes sense, man. Vikasha. HCG feels different than Proviron in terms of libido. HCG feels so high libido. I suppose it all depends. You can make Proviron feel high in terms of libido, get great libido from Proviron, if the estradiol as it stands is just not quite in the right place and needs to be a little lower. Then, again, people are going to understand when they get their estradiol DHT, or I should say DHT estradiol ratio, in a beautiful place for their body, libido goes like this. Libido just goes from fucking 0 to 100 quick. At the same time, libido is also driven in the brain by androgen receptor activation and functional binding domains, which most of us should have. Some of us have, I should say, not deformed, but negatively modulated androgen receptor binding domains, but it is very uncommon to run into that. Largely, Proviron enhances libido. For you, HCG, in that besides its testicular actions, it's kind of like injectable estradiol. It will increase your serum estrogen a lot. Depending on the dose and the frequency, I would wager you're getting more libido because you need more estrogen. That's pretty much it. And everybody does. Every single person does. If it goes below a certain threshold relative to androgens, your libido goes south. And that sucks. Yeah, it sucks. The low estrogen libido, It's the worst. It's actually the fucking worst, you know? You have none. You can't even see, your particular interest in butts or boobs or whatever it is, like you like something like big, small, whatever. You can't even see that and get a response. Your shit's just fucking dead. And do you think non-BBC effects are permanent as it makes NRW dopamine connection? I'm going to try. I don't know if the spontaneous creation of new dopaminergic neurons, which is in part the mechanism by which 9-MeBC affects neurology, is permanent. It hasn't been studied. Probably. My thoughts on Sustanon are not a whole lot because I don't have a lot of experience working with it. Yeah, I've had some guys on it. I've had to dial them in. My thoughts are that the same principles apply. If they do terrible on daily injections, they're just going to need some fluctuation with more frequent, gapped out frequency. Same thing applies with the necessity for higher doses. Some people tolerate low doses, or that's all they need. Some people need more of it. I don't think it's particularly efficient though, because you got then four things you've got working at the same time. It's a little weird. Some people do benefit from the propionate in that case with higher peaks and fast peaks in relation to the rest of their sort of slow baseline. So I think I'd take it or leave it. I think it's totally fine. Not anything special though. You can potentially take low-dose DHT to preserve LH and FSH. Now, there is a direct connection between dihydrotestosterone itself and the functionality of the testicles, as well as potentially some upstream pituitary stuff. I mean, proviron is actually given to enhance fertility in some contexts. Here's the thing, though. When you cross a certain threshold in exogenous DHT or exogenous DHT analogs, you will get suppression. So I think there's probably a threshold there where it's beneficial until it causes suppression. Yeah. That would be my guess. My hardly scientific guess. Are you finding people need less estrogen management when they switch to once a week? Yes. I currently doing every Monday and Thursday. Wonder if once a week would be better. Almost all of the time. Because what you have to remember is there's two things working for you. Number one, you have more DHT, which counters estradiol with gapped out higher dose injections. You're just going to have more natural AI, if you will, in your system. And number two, after day 4, and right around day 4, but day 4, day 5, day 6, and obviously day 7, estrogen's going like this, kind of fucking nosediving. You've already reached your peak saturation and aromatase converting activity. The testosterone levels are going down, so the estrogen is going down. And at the same time, throughout, you have maintained your clearance of estradiol. Like we all clear estrogen out of our bodies every day. So you've maintained that. Now it's dropping, and you have more DHT than you're used to. So that works like a symphony to control estradiol and to keep you in the right ratio. So absolutely, positively. I think I'm a prime example of that, but it's barely. The reason I'm able to do that on 250, not manage estradiol, once a week is because of all those dynamics I just mentioned, but I'm not dosing a lot of HCG. Yeah, 75 IU as needed to keep the balls looking okay. Sexual function, all that is fine without HCG for me personally. Like in this case of having elevated androgens at the level that I'm doing, right? But if I were to dose 250 IU of HCG 3 times a week, my libido would be fine, but erections would need Cialis to be the level that I want them to be. So, choose your dose wisely. 150, 175, 200, much more reasonable than 250 relative to estradiol, especially if you like taking a little more HCG because it makes you feel better or whatever. What up, brother? What am I doing here on Friday? Well, I tell you, I had a weird fucking day. I had the weirdest day. I also had the weirdest night last night. And I could not, based on the things that have happened to me in the last 48 hours, I could not do video content, but I still wanted to get in with you guys and do content. So that's why I'm here. Most of the problem has to do with, there's one big problem that I really can't discuss. And then another problem has to do with business. Yeah. Like a payment processor weird issue we're fixing, but it's just been a giant headache that was completely unnecessary. By the way, I asked you about anabolic doses of prop, currently 50 milligrams daily, 50 milligrams DHT enanthate, 0 estrogen issues, and anabolic as heck. Sleep is good. Yeah, 50 daily is a good, that's right on the borderline. You go to 40 daily, 30 daily, the anabolism starts to decline significantly. But, I mean, if you think about it, you're on 350 a week. You're on 350 a week. That's where with prop is less anabolic than most other esters, just less nitrogen retention, sticks around less estrogenic. But you got to push the 250 plus to get the anabolism that you would get on like 180, 200 of testipinate. So, you're at 350. I mean, you're anabolic. I love that. Yeah, I mean, for a brief period when I was running the cycle, because I had gotten test flu from 560 of enanthate, I had to reduce the dose to 420, and I used prop. That was about 3 weeks, and I was anabolic as fuck. And then my body got used to higher levels. I went back to the 560 of test enanthate, and I didn't have test flow anymore. I was fine. But that prop definitely worked for anabolism, but it has to be at a pretty high dose. Can you please talk about PSSD and why TRT is the solution? Almost all psychiatrists recommend bupropion, right? Plus trazodone at night. This is a good question, but let's just look at this. I don't think you're disputing that, test is good for PSSD, but let's look at what the psychiatrists are recommending. Bupropion and trazodone. What the fuck? Sexual dysfunction needs to be treated from a sex hormone perspective. Your sexual dysfunction is not located exclusively in your brain. Part of it is that, but psychiatrists, first of all, may not recognize that sex hormones themselves, test DHT, estradiol, modulate dopamine and neurology quite heavily around libido and erections. But at the same time, of course, they recommend what is in their professional guidelines to treat a condition. They can't give you TRT for this. This is their training to do this. Psychiatrists believe all you have to do is modulate the neurochemistry to deal with some of these problems, and then you're good. Well, that may be the case for psychiatric disorders, which, by the way, isn't the best solution anyway, right? To give them psychiatric medicines for the rest of their lives. Forget about fixing the problem, which should be the focus. Let's just give you psychoactive fucking drugs, psychotropic drugs forever. These kinds of drugs cause problems in people. But this is how they deal with it. If you go to a gastroenterologist for acid reflux, rather than get to the bottom of why you're either hypo on stomach acid, you've got like hypohydrochloric acid syndrome for whatever reason. Mostly that's an H. pylori infection that suppresses stomach acid in the scientific literature. Rather than go into that might be the cause, you might have an overgrowth of methanogens in your small intestine, which are fermenting your carbohydrates and thus pushing pepsin and acid up the lower esophageal sphincter where it cannot adequately close as it's supposed to do because it's the reflux barrier. And treating that with an intestinal antibiotic, something like rifaximin, what they treat SIBO with, they're going to give you proton pump inhibitors. Because if they can treat the symptom by just reducing the substrate that refluxes into your esophagus, well, then they're good. But that isn't the solution, right? Because if the solution is an overgrowth of fermenting either bacteria, methanogens, or archaeobacter, which it is in a lot of cases for reflux, I've discovered, you don't have an anatomical problem. You have a gut dysbiosis problem. That's the real solution. But they're going to give you a proton pump inhibitor, which is going to inhibit your absorption of B12 over your life and among other minerals, and you end up with osteoporosis. It's like, that's why the psychiatrist says bupropion and trazodone, because that's in their myopic purview within which medicines exist and protocols that they're allowed to prescribe. While they're not allowed to prescribe others, they have to give you that. TRT is the solution to PSSD because PSSD is rooted in hypopituitarism and generalized sexual dysfunction. And the way that you approach any degree of sexual dysfunction, so long as it's not elevated prolactin or something else that you're doing, like smoking kratom, which is elevating prolactin, sexual dysfunction is fixable via sex hormones, mainly androgens. But then once you get into using androgens, you have to get, just like people on TRT, the right balance between DHT and estradiol. And the right balance between other potential ancillaries that you might add in, like DHA and HCG. So that is probably a much more long-winded explanation than you would like, but I want to be thorough. That's the answer. Do you test stuff from sources through Janoschick? I don't know that Janoschick is a source. We can't talk about that publicly here. But yeah, everything on SourceList, all the vendors at least, were tested by me, but by a lot of other people that I trust. Namely a big, awesome other YouTuber who is bald but doesn't have to be. Trying to squeeze, if that's any hint, trying to squeeze out as much anabolism as possible. Thoughts. DHT seems to be really controlling E2. On 300 recipient, I need an AI. 350 prop plus DHT, no AI. Well, if you're trying to maximize anabolism, you just have to decide what you're okay with. If 350 a prop is enough of that anabolism for you, then please do that. Do that. But it sounds like it isn't, right? 300 a sip, you're just going to retain more nitrogen. You will have more constant androgen receptor activation in the skeletal tissues and presumably more muscle protein synthesis. So you're going to be more anabolic and grow on cypionate versus prop. So it's really up to you. Is that difference, though, between the two substantial? Not really. It's not that substantial. So just do what makes you feel best and do what allows sexual function to be, where to be good, to be good enough on cycle or on high doses of test, That's what I would do. If you're happy where you are, don't take my assertion that cypionate is more anabolic. Of course it generally is, but you don't have to do cypionate, man. If you're good where you are, no reason to change it. Thoughts on pregnenolone for those who don't take HCG? I think pregnenolone is semi-useful for natties. Not that useful for people on TRT. Not really useful much at all. And if you follow bad suggestions on the dose of pregnenolone, you are going to run into the territory of hyperprogesteronism, which is going to fuck up your erections, and it's going to make your libido very weird, possibly womanly, and you don't want that. It's also going to block DHT. I don't know if I made that clear. I'm not a huge fan of it. I am not a huge fan of it. I just don't. I don't see it to be necessary. So when there's the risk that it can cause problems, I tend toward don't use it. Don't use it. People are using pregnenolone to curb anxiety on TRT. It's just like the PPI example I gave you, the proton pump inhibitor example I gave you. There's another reason that you're anxious on TRT, and you've got to fix that. I wouldn't be taking, a highly progestogenic supplement like pregnenolone to fix that. No, that's not a good idea. Yes, but this would be overkill. New boy fits on the E2 management with frequency. I had E2 at 78 at 2x 100 milligram cypionate and felt good. Yeah, it's probably because you had enough DHT. Had 60s with 50 milligrams sub-Q Monday and Friday, 250 total, and felt like ass. A little libido erection issues. I think that the estrogen, therefore, because it's only an 18-point difference, was inconsequential. I think what mattered more is your 2x 100 milligram injections of cypionate versus 50 milligrams of cypionate per day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You were never able to peak as high as you did on the 100 milligram at once, I would wager, just doing, daily injections. At the same time, daily injections tend to desensitize the response to androgens. Nobody really knows how this happens. It just seems very clear that it does. I've got the mechanisms for why this happens with nootropics. With cholinergic nootropics, it's the upregulation of choline esterase. With dopaminergic nootropics, it's the downregulation of the RAF nuclease projection, the ventral tegmental areas projection of dopamine. With serotonergic nootropics, it's the downregulation of the RAF nuclease projection of serotonin. And in all those cases, it's a mild desensitized response at the receptor binding sites. So with test and daily continuous exposure, the mechanism of resistance is unknown, possibly androgen receptor desensitization, definitely lower SHBG and less transport of those androgens to penile tissue, to brain tissue, etc. Have you heard of Proviron and HCG raising DHA sulfate? HCG a little bit. Proviron, no. Legend Killer's got a problem here, brother. So that's a problem. Hey, brother. Problem, brother. Prolactin's always high. What the fudge? What's the best thing to bring it down? Keep up the good work. If you want a hammer, it would be cabergoline. It's a dopamine D2 receptor agonist that's used for prolactinomas and Parkinson's and things like that. Mostly prolactinomas. Yeah, it would be cabergoline. 0.25 milligrams twice weekly would be the good starting point for that. If you want a less effective scalpel, then it would be high doses of P5P, which you could buy in supplemental form. It's just a supplement. It's what vitamin B6 turns into when your body makes it bioavailable. Pyridoxine 5-phosphate. You can actually buy that supplement and take it. So those are the two answers, from way highly effective to less effective, but not a drug. Are you against oral minoxidil and GHK-CU use? Yes, only because GHK-CU, right, copper, it does appear to have some 5-alpha reductase inhibiting properties, but it's very hard to pinpoint through the available literature the extent to which it does that. It's not been studied. But since it's in that realm, I wouldn't touch it. Secondarily, the only reason that I am against oral minoxidil of any types of people that want to keep their dick is because people have paid for 6-month consults with me with post-finasteride syndrome, and all they took was Rogaine. That's all they took. So it gives people PFS. Not everybody, but it does. So yeah, I'm against it. This isn't an opinion. This isn't like, I'm not up here doing TRT theory and like a lot of these other fucking weirdos do. I've seen it. Hey, switch from test E, 120 milligrams PW post-workout. Split into 3 injections. Okay, so what is it? 50, 40. Yeah, 4 times 3. 40 milligram injections 3 times a week. To 100 milligrams test every 5th day. I've noticed hot flushes in the mornings with lots of sweating and a stale body odor. Yeah, ride that out, brother. Absolutely. Probably just getting used to boluses of everything at once. Yeah, tests can do a lot of weird things. I really don't know about the body odor thing. It's not common for anything like that to happen. It's pretty uncommon, frankly. But people respond variably to tests. I mean, that's one of those things, I don't really know what might be causing the body odor. That's just kind of strange. But yes, definitely ride it out, especially if you're getting libido interaction benefits. 100 every 5th day is a good protocol. 120 every 5th day as well. On 5th day protocols, that's where I'd stay. You could go as high as 150 every 5th day. I did that, and it was good, but not the best. I think 100 or 120 is really good for that frequency. Hey, Ryan. What's up, brother? Been on test prop 30 milligrams, 30 to 40 every day. Starting to see some positive changes. I've had PFS for 5 years. Do you think I need to add Cialis or anything else to speed up recovery? I think that you will probably not get permanent recovery with that. I think that recovery in these cases happens really quickly once you have the right protocol. Yeah. I mean, it might take a degree of time once you have that for things to get better. I mean, if you've been starving for 6 months and you reintroduce food, your first Big Mac meal is not going to cure you of the ailments the starvation caused. So there's a degree of having to continue to dose androgens that will continue to further your recovery. But I would wager that, listen, on TRT, even with PFS, when you get the right protocol, the recovery is quick. Yeah. I mean, I worked with a guy for, it was right at, we had done 6 months together, and it was right at the 6 month point. It was like month 5, where we had tried a lot of different things. And, they were mostly his preferences. Like, he wanted to inject more frequently, and he wanted to stay lower on test, and he didn't want to take a whole lot of HCG, and he didn't want to use AIs. So we just had to try everything else under the sun, and none of it really worked, to the point where finally at month 5, we did the 200 tests a week and an AI, the 0.25 Arimidex every other day, and 200 IU HCG every day, and he's fucking dialed in right away. I mean, this was like a matter of weeks. Once the AI got in and the HCG and those higher doses of tests, it was like 2 weeks. She's like, dude, everything's coming back. And it just continued to get better, and then it stayed there. And we were done. Like, it fucking makes me so happy, man, because that dude had a hard time. Tinfoil hat question. So don't crucify me here. What's the chances pharma are putting mRNA in the test? Brother, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I don't think so, dude. I don't think so, man. mRNA in the test? What? Have you ever seen guys with sleep issues do progesterone being too low on TRT? No, again, this is one of the things that people like to treat anxiety on TRT or insomnia in this case with. They do pregnenolone, to convert with progesterone. But no, I do not. That is not the solution. It's not that you have insomnia due to a progesterone deficiency. That's what that implies. Can't be true. Go measure your progesterone. I bet it's in range. It's not a progesterone deficiency. It's that progesterone has neuromodulatory properties that, fix that problem. But they also can introduce additional problems like blocking DHT. So why not get to the root of the neurological problem rather than using something that works on a similar pathway in the brain but is bad elsewhere? No. This would assume you have a progesterone deficiency, and no, that is rare. Again, go test it. Not a whole lot to say about Adamax. 50 milligrams prop daily, doing a lot, probably just being greedy. Okay, so this is for anabolism. Yeah, look, I mean, yeah, totally. We all do want to do that. I mean, when you start to, dude, I'm on 250 and still, I'm way more anabolic than on cream, and my pumps are fucking insane, and I'm stronger instantly, and my body's looking better finally. But I'd love more. I'd love to just dose 50 milligrams of Anavar every day, just right before the gym, and go in there like fucking listening to death metal and throwing my weights around, at Planet Fitness, having the lunk alarm go off. I'd love that, but saner heads prevail, my brother. That's what I'd say. Brother, can Cialis become a dependent drug? Not typically. Now, Cialis is one of those drugs, in my opinion, that it tends to just work better over time. I mean, it just, it doesn't, there's no tolerance to it, you just block phosphodiesterase 5, you increase nitric oxide signaling, and it just continues to do that. Now, there's a little bit of a detriment to how good it works, and that I've seen a few cases of guys dosing, albeit 10 milligrams Cialis a day, and eventually they developed a syndrome in which they actually thought that they had well, some cardiac disorder. They were lightheaded all the time. And, they had they went to a specialist, and the guy was like, let's put a Holter monitor on your chest, and we can record these instances of lightheadedness, and we can see if you're having, episodes of tachycardia followed by bradycardia. And the guy thought he had a fucking heart problem. It was Cialis. Too much nitric oxide, man. Dilating the blood vessels, lowering the blood pressure temporarily in the fucking brain, causing you to be near losing consciousness. So it's something to look out for, because over time it just seems to get better. I don't take Cialis now because I fucking don't need it with 250 a test, but I loved it when I took it. I loved the effects that it gave me when I took it. I just wish it was 100% side effect free, because I get nasal congestion that is noticeable every single time I take it. There's nothing I can really do about that. And I don't get that now that I don't take Cialis, so I'm kind of happy. Fucking don't need it, brother. I don't. Do I prefer HCG daily or every other day? It depends on the context of the protocol. Thank you for the super chat, J-Dog. But it depends on the context of the rest of the protocol, Yeah, that's really what it depends on. Examples would be on my 5 clicks 100 milligram scrotal cream every day. I dose 330 IU of HCG every day, and that worked. I needed a steady supply of what ultimately was estradiol, because that dose of cream generally was just super DHT heavy. Now that was great for erectile quality, but pretty piss poor for libido. So I needed the HCG to support libido. So in that case, daily works. You've also not opened up many options for me to explain here. Every other day, generally not a good idea for HCG. What's generally a good idea is daily in that case I just described, or once to 2x weekly at low doses when you're trying to minimum effective dose it. That's really where I am these days with it. That position has changed, but it's all protocol dependent. It's all depending on what your protocol is. For example, on 250 a test right now, once a week, I dose HCG like once every 7 to 10 days, like 75 to 100 IU. All I'm trying to do is maintain testicular size, because they will start shrinking. They have. And then a little bit of HCG, they come right back. It doesn't affect anything. It doesn't affect estrogen, libido, nothing for me personally, because the test is doing that, and the HCG dose is so minute that it doesn't really move. It might move me up in estrogen 5 picograms per milliliter, which is inconsequential at this stage. Thank you for the super chat though, brother. If I move up, I'll do 10 milligram increments. I've actually been off HCG during this little mini blast, and do feel like sensation is down, but I also like not having E2 issues. Well, yeah, sensation being down is usually not enough estradiol. It can go both ways. If the estradiol is too high, sensation starts to drop, but if it's too low, it starts to drop too. Yeah, that's why I had to dose a lot of HCG on cream, because I had too much DHT for the estrogen load, and my dick was like fucking diamond cutter, but my sensitivity and libido was not the greatest, so I had to have HCG to fix that in the protocol. So it's all protocol dependent, my bros, my brothers. Legend killer kills legend. It kills legends. I love prop at 25 milligrams a day. Yeah, that's where my erections work really great on prop. But EQ too high at 15 a day and don't feel anabolic enough. So erection quality is too high at 15 milligrams a day. Yeah, I don't really notice much anabolism down at 15. At 25, it's pretty abysmal for me too. Yeah, you could try, if the anabolism right now is not the best, you could try 50 every other day. You could try doing that. Or if you want to, have your cake and eat it too, meaning have the anabolism and also still maintain sexual function, try something like 100 every third day of prop. 150 every fourth. I mean, I know that sounds pretty fringe, but this is the kind of shit that works for both things, because you will trough heavily and estrogen won't continue to rise. Best approach to lower SHBG would be 25 milligrams misterolone per day. That's just so effective at doing that. That's Proviron. I started 2 weeks ago, 150 test. SHBG is 87. and my total test was 991. 87 is exceptionally high, but for all the symptoms of low T, including no libido. Well, first of all, if you only started 2 weeks ago, you have not given your testosterone enough time. 150 of Test-C doing 2x week injections is likely to maybe be okay, but probably your libido will not be great anyway, because you're steady state there, basically, man. You're just not going to peak or trough. It'll be better than daily, but your mileage is going to vary. You'll have to see. But 87 SHBG, this is, I assume, due to your state prior to getting on TRT. Why is it that high? That to me seems like a a problem. It's a liver-based problem, an insulinogenic problem, or otherwise problem. It shouldn't be that high. But the best way to lower it, first of all, you got to get to the reason why that's happening, and you should do some heavy research on why people end up with super elevated sex hormone binding globulins. Secondly, though, to do something about it, take Proviron every day. Just go to Source List, which is on our website, and you can get Proviron. And take 25 every day. You'll lower it for sure, definitely. At the same time, it's not helping you to inject 2 times a week. Well, actually, yeah, it is. The more frequently you inject, the lower the SHBG actually goes, but you don't want to inject very frequently. You noticing any negative effects from dropping the DHEA, lowering the HCG? No. Yeah, testicular size, but again, I just infuse a little HCG. I'm riding that edge right there because, again, the more HCG, the more estrogenic is going to be, the more that will throw off the balance of androgens to estradiol. And the only thing that'll be affected for me there is erectile quality. I don't really get moody or estrogenic or any other weird shit like that. I just, dick goes south. But no, other than testicular size reducing and me having to then redose HCG to get it back to a baseline, which is cumbersome, no actual side effects, just kind of a pain in the ass. But no, for me personally, it sort of highlighted something. It proved something I thought about myself, which was wrong. That like I always need a certain amount of HCG for sensation and libido. It is now clear to me that I do not. That really I needed enough androgen load and enough estradiol and the balance between the two of them to be right for my libido and sensation to work. But no, nothing negative at all. DHEA. There's a lot of good things. Again, you want to be supplying your brain with all the neurosteroids. I'm a little less calm that I'm not on DHEA. Is that a negative side effect? Well, maybe you can consider that. DHEA helped me to be a little more chill generally, but otherwise not really. DHEA at the same time I think was contributing to a little bit of hair thinning, and it can definitely do that via 2 mechanisms. AMSUDS. What should someone expect when starting HCG if they've been on TRT for a year and a half without it? 100 milligrams, 20. I think that you can expect better libido, better sensation, definitely better semen volume, and bigger testicles. But you should also be aware of the fact that you might throw yourself out of balance and erectile quality might start to reduce or fail. If that happens, lower the HCG dose. And consider not taking it every day so that you're not just constantly exposed to the estrogen that you're going to get from it. I don't know why you're doing it, but you must have a reason. If the testicles have shrunk so much to the point where you're like, fuck it, I just want to do this. Or if you think, sensation or whatever's down, HCG, probably is the answer because it's going to give you more estrogen. Again, DHT-centered protocols can reduce sexual sensitivity because they are blocking estrogen, first of all. And secondly, you're dosing cream, so the bias in terms of metabolites is so heavily to dihydrotestosterone. DHT is great, but that's an imbalance still. It's an imbalance still, I learned that in my experimentation with DHT. I could take enough of it and I would lose libido. My erections would be fine, but I'd lose libido. It's like, and it was acting like an AI. It's the same libido loss that has happened if I've taken too much anastrozole in the past. So, that really does apply. People think I'm the anti-estrogen guy. Well, I am in relation to your DHT. I do think you should look at it. It plays a major role in everything. But if you take it too fucking low or if you mask its effects too much, you're going to have side effects too. Saucing. What's up, brothers? I've noticed the same with sensation, particularly for me. It's almost always high E2, so forcing more HCG was counterproductive. Yeah, you crossed that threshold where then the estradiol was causing your sensation to be muted. It does it both ways. Too low estradiol, sensation muted. Too high estradiol, sensation fucking muted. Sucks. You know, the sweet spot is really true, and that number moves as you dose higher. Again, on TRT, moderate low doses of testosterone, the estrogen sweet spot is about 30. You know, you go up to almost 200 milligrams, like 170, 175. The sweet spot's 30 to 45. You go up to 200 to 250. The sweet spot's like 45 to 60, 65. But you go up to a gram a week, your sweet spot's still about 65 or 70. It doesn't go above that. Then you just have full-blown ED no matter what. At least that's been my experience. Brothers, small daily dosing of HCG make a TRT protocol too steady. Yeah, could do that. It really all depends on the context of everything else. But yeah, I mean, it has the ability to do that. Yes. Yep. Yes, it does, brother. Yes, it does. May not, but you know, it does. I'd have to look at the rest of the protocol to even determine if that's really what we're looking at. But yeah, it can absolutely do that. Boys, what's been booking like crazy is number one, the TRT protocol audit. It's a 25-minute call with me and comes with an entire audit of your protocol. Like, I'll just look at everything that you're doing and tell you, you should change this. You should change the test dose. You should change the frequency. You should modify the HCG in this way. You should bring Proviron in here. So the protocol audit's been very popular. Now, it does not come with me generating the protocol online for you, but I will give you the protocol. So you'll just have to take notes. But the actual most popular consult that I've ever fucking launched is the TRT sexual function consult. Now, this was $12.97. I reduced it to $7.99 and made it exclusively for sexual function restoration and added a bunch of things. The command center. So you got a digital command center on the web within which I'll give you the protocol I think you should be on, as well as adjustment routes. If that first shot after 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on the ester, isn't perfect. So you'll just have a game plan on exactly what to do. Then you don't need coaching. You don't need coaching. Or at least you have a better shot of not needing coaching. So go book this, guys, livecortex.com. These, because they're from my end, it's a 45-minute call, and then there's time thinking, and then there's the protocol generation, but it's not coaching. For me, I can do these all day long. So I can get to new bookings a lot faster than coaching might take me 48 hours. You book one of these, we're on the call tomorrow. So you can do that at livecortex.com. Again, boys, those of you that are just listening to me talk about high doses and are ready to fucking pull the trigger on that, believe me, man, life is going to change for you as you know it. Mega dosing TRT while having great libido interactions, but also enjoying anabolism you can't get on TRT, but dialing in the sexual function. It's like you activated a fucking cheat code. Like, remember in GTA when you'd pull out your phone and you dial a number and call it, and you then have access to every single weapon, including RPGs? Remember in GTA when you pull your phone out and you can fucking spawn a helicopter and go on the biggest skyscraper in that map and snipe everybody and snipe the police as they come to try to get you, and snipe the police helicopters as they as you're at 5 stars and they come to get you, snipe the fucking the pilot out of it. Cheat codes. That's what this course is. When you get to the level of high doses of testosterone that just saturate your body the way that your body prefers, and you're waking up with erections in the middle of the night that hurt, and you feel like a man again, and your libido is driving you crazy around your girl or whatever, you start getting into all kinds of new shit sexually. It's a cheat code, man. Go get it. Thank me later. I mean, or don't. That's up to you. But I fucking think it'll change your life, especially if you've been dosing low and you're not getting it done. Not getting it done, brothers. I've been wanting to put that together for a while, so I'm happy that it's out there. New Boy Fitz says E2 is a sweet spot at higher levels, like my 350. At 350 a prop, it doesn't. It's a little different than Cypionate because you're doing 50 milligrams a day, so you're pretty steady state, honestly. Yeah, it's probably slightly lower than that. Well, 50, 55, something like that is what I would assert would be. I've never been on 350 a prop, nor have any of my clients been on that exact dose of prop daily. So I can't say where the sweet spot in estrogen is, but it's probably around 50 there. Where are we here? Can just taking the typical vitamins. Pregnenolone is not one of the things that are good. It's good for erectile quality, by the way. I've discussed that at length. P5P, vitamin A could improve erection quality, not necessarily. Too much zinc lowers estrogen too much, which will cause erectile dysfunction and libido dysfunction. Just enough zinc will be perfect for lowering estrogen enough to facilitate erectile quality. So it really depends on the dose. The dose makes the poison, makes the better outcome, makes the worse outcome. Vitamin E has some prolactin lowering effects. So yes, that is true. P5P definitely does. And pregnenolone is useless in this context. In fact, pregnenolone, via being progestogenic, is counterproductive to lowering prolactin. Brother, if someone's been on test cream for a few years, is Clomid good for lowering high estrogen levels? No, because it won't lower high estrogen. It won't lower the estrogen. It just will block receptors in your pituitary and your a few other locations in your body which contain estrogen receptor beta and estrogen receptor alpha. Like your retina or somewhere in your eyes. You don't want that. Yeah, I think Clomid is a bad idea unless you are PCTing off a test for whatever reason. I honestly think it's inferior to TRT in pretty much every way, with the exception of ease of use. It's easier to take a 25 milligram pill per day with Clomid, but it's inferior to TRT in every other way. So it sort of cancels out that convenience factor. I don't like Clomid one bit. I think it was misleading for people to, sell that through their companies and call it TRT. I think that's profoundly misleading and an injustice to the community and to men. And I don't think it's great. Yeah, it is, brother. We are, dude. Who didn't fucking whip out that phone and spawn what was that car called? I did a bunch of dope ass cars, but like the super fast couple sports cars. Who didn't do that? Who didn't do that, man? Spawning submachine guns and just doing drive-bys. That was like, I'd be playing the missions on GTA and I'd be like, all right, I'm fucking bored. Time to shoot up a car. Time to just do a drive-by at a fucking red light. Get the cops on my ass and kill every one of those assholes. Yeah. Love it, dude. Yeah, it's fun. It was fun. Fun, brother. Fun. There's no game like that. I wish they made a new, better game or something. I played the most recent one. I didn't love it. It's just kind of the same as the older ones. I don't know. High doses make you feel good. Running high doses for long term is not smart past 40, in my opinion. Well, it depends on the dose. Yeah. And it's not necessarily not smart. It's that you will have to employ more health management as you get into your 60s. Yeah. Like you can't be up there at 65 years old boozing your ass off while you're dosing 220 milligrams of test a week. Because then you're going to make way too much red blood cells, and you're not young enough to control that. It's like the booze has a compounding effect on hematocrit, which it does increase. Alcohol increases hematocrit concentration over time. So as your body becomes less efficient at dealing with that, you should drink less. You'll have to manage your health more, definitely. Regarding your age, I don't agree with that. I think past 60 is where you really want to start analyzing it. Yeah. That's where you want to start looking at risk reduction as much as possible, assuming for the previous 20 years you've gotten echocardiograms and monitored your lipids like an intelligent human being. If you're 70, that's where you really got to, be careful. But I don't know, man. I mean, I'll be doing content for sure. so up there. So I just don't know what things are going to be like. I'll have to wait and see kind of what my body does. But I know 70-year-olds that are on TRT, one of whom is my doctor, one of my doctors. I've got two doctors, one who's a prescribing doctor and a great guy to just shoot the shit with. I mean, I know his wife's name. I know a little bit about their sex life. That guy sits at 2,500 total tests at his peak. He's 70-something years old. And you know what he is compared to his counterparts? Stronger, more energetic, and fucking healthier. So I really can't say that dosing high test past 60 is even a problem. Because one of my doctors does it. I think he's 73, 75. In his 70s. Peaking at 2,500. Dude's an animal. He's fine. He's fucking fine. I talk to him like twice a year. And every time I got on a call with him, we do video calls. He's like, what's up, Brian? The dude looks 60, 50 something. I met another guy on TRT at the casino about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. We ended up just talking about our lives. He's what do they call those? It's a political term. He's a lobbyist. And to me, he looked about 55 or something. And I didn't really know how old he was. Fucking 70-something on TRT. I'm like, no wonder, dude. He also drinks coffee all day. So I'm sure that contributes. Do you think there might be better anabolism sexual function dosing 75 every other day versus 50 every day? Yes, there is, because you're peaking higher. 100%. Yep, definitely. Not necessarily the best thing. So you're talking about prop, then yeah, yes. Listen, if you plot that out on Plotter, steroid plotter, do you peak higher? If so, the answer is yes. Yeah. Yes. I don't remember buying the strip club. That's funny. There's so many things in that game, dude. I've seen some wacky shit on that game. It's just stuff we haven't even discovered. Not on TRT yet. Playing with enclomiphene, not moving the needle. Yeah, it's not gonna. It's not even really that healthy. It's not healthy for you. Already have sensitivity issues. Yeah, because you're blocking estrogen receptors. Anything I can do now or when starting TRT, HCG off the bat, I would start TRT. I would, if I were you, pay little to no mind to the suggestions that are going to be thrown at you the most, i.e. daily micro injections. I would inject every 5 to 7 days a good degree of testosterone, and I would use just enough HCG to keep your balls from shrinking and no more. That is what I would do if I were you. 2,500 nanograms per deciliter is replacement. Just because it's replacing the test with 4 to 5 men doesn't mean it's not replacement. 4 to 5 men's test levels. I don't know. It's so questionable, like I've been here. There's one guy that keeps commenting here that there's a doc who is suggesting everyone stay around that level there. Now, I'm not even at that level at 250. I'm 1,700, 1,800 at the peak. Because depending, I was on 20, I was on 3,000, 4,000 on cycle a couple years ago. But, my doctor is sitting there and the guy's 70 something and he seems to be doing great. And this is a guy who went through medical school, went through fucking residency, became a doctor at a hospital, furthered his education into endocrinology, has been seeing patients for 4 decades. If he thinks it's okay to be at 2,500 nanograms per deciliter at peak, it kind of lends some social credence, right? Like his opinion is worth something. He influences me, but I still think when I'm 70, do I want to be on that much test or peak that high? I don't know. I suppose it will all depend on what's happening with my body. But the thing is we have been conditioned to think that testosterone is bad for us. We're coming from this place in the literature where they thought it causes prostate cancer. Now they're using androgens for prostate cancer. They thought it causes cardiac problems. Now we're realizing the lower the test you have, the more likelihood you are of having problems with your fucking hearts. So I think that the industry is behind the literature. And I think we're playing catch up to where we are fully confident in our admittedly new assertions that testosterone is actually profoundly healthy for you. You know? So we're all going to be, there's going to be this degree of conservatism, dose conservatism as you age, as we go on. But by that time, by the time we're all 75, I think it'll all be pretty fucking cleared up. If you ask me, I think we're all going to know, you know? Yeah. If you've seen enough of people that are 70 dosing test and they're dosing 200 milligrams a week, they're, you know, dosing pellets, or they're dosing, not sustanon, and Libido, and they've got, you know, just like massive fucking peaks. And they're good. I think we're going to know. We're going to know, you know? It's not that you can tell based on how you feel, oh, this is good for me, but that should also be factored in, you know? If you take testosterone at 200 milligrams a week, which, by the way, is a standard TRT dose, and you feel more energetic, your libido is roaring, your boners work better, you're stronger, your cardio is better, I'd say that's healthy, man. That's healthy. Not to mention all the things under the hood. Better insulin sensitivity, better metabolism, better compartmentalization of your fat versus your lean mass. I should say better conversion of your calories to lean mass versus fat mass. These are all metabolically and physiologically healthy things to have going on. You know, testosterone is what's doing that. How do you know when you need more HCG in the protocol to support libido? When you've got a DHT heavy protocol and erections are amazing, but libido sucks. That's really the best answer. Yeah, that's me. I was telling you about him last week. Oh yeah, Ty Vincent. So yeah, I gotta just look. I just gotta find the guy. Is what I gotta do, so that I can go watch. I'm sure I've seen him before. Let me. Oh, it's that guy. It's that guy. Okay, let me subscribe because I have not seen a lot of his stuff, but I have seen some of it. So let me just sub to him from the Cortex Labs channel, and let me sub to him from my personal channel as well, so that when Jill and I are watching TV later, fucking Dr. Ty Vincent will pop up. I'll be like, babe, sorry, we got to watch this guy. We just got to watch one of his videos. Well, I'll check him out. I'll check him out and see what he's got to say. Brothers, what are you guys doing this weekend? Doing anything fun? It's probably 75, 80 degrees today. Nice day. Went on an hour-long walk down in the city in the north side. It was fun. It was awesome. And had a chat with Jill around 2 p.m., 1 p.m., 2 p.m., and got right to content and some other stuff. Dealing with a bit of a problem with payment processing. It's still up on the website, so you guys can go buy product, but there's another internal thing that we've got to fix. Working on that. And then otherwise, probably going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings for some Blazing Knockout wings, because it's just such an experience. They are actually the only hot wings at any place that are hot. Dude, I've been everywhere. Can I have your hot wings? Just give me your hottest wings. None of them are hot. Blazing Knockout wings at Buffalo Wild Wings. They're fucking hot, bro. Dude, I've got videos of me eating them, but eating 3 or 4 in a row, I'm crying. I'm tolerating it, but I'm suffering. But I'm fucking crying. And there's snot coming out of my nose. It's a sight to see, man. But that's fun to do. So we'll probably do that later, unless Jill's got a better idea about where we should go for dinner, but I don't really know what she's thinking. She's working at the moment, so we'll figure that out in a little. Other than that, though, I think Saturday and Sunday are also going to be nice days. So if we can go to Lake Erie, it's 2 hours from us, but we drive up there and hang out on the beach, on the lake, and get a hotel room on the bay. That's a fun thing that we like to do. It's probably a little too late to make plans to go to the Jersey Shore, but anything's possible. So I don't know, but we're probably going to just stay local and enjoy the weather as much as possible. Get a lot of walking in, do some rooftop margaritas in Pittsburgh. There's a couple places that are just like 4 or 5 stories up, 8 stories up, 9 stories up is the beer garden, and we go up there and we eat big pretzels with cheese and mustard dip. We feed pigeons and we have margaritas, and that's probably what our weekend's going to look like. I hope your guys' weekend is epic. We're doing another live stream tomorrow, though. So don't think just because today we're doing one, we're not doing tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow, bro. I'll be there tomorrow. Be there tomorrow, brother. Yeah, if labs are good, what else matters? I mean, that's pretty much it. All these biomarkers should tell the picture of your health. So if you look at those and they're good, you're good. I mean, what else is there? What else is there? Yeah, I'll check out the guy. I'll check it out. Just been over this. Bad idea. Not very useful. Yeah, again, it's for people getting off of testosterone, trying to restart their natural function. Otherwise, it tends to cause side effects, tends to cause a loss of libido, and that is not good. Razzer, to finish it off, been pinning 80 milligrams every 3 days, HCG twice a week. Running this for 2 weeks. Feel great. A little early, but hopefully it works out for you, brother. All right, boys, I'm going to end the stream. Great fucking chatting with you on a Friday, man. I don't know what you guys are doing, but I hope you just enjoy the hell out of your weekend. I love the fact that some of you guys showed up on Friday. That's pretty epic. I thought maybe you'd be out with your wives or being like it's the end of the week, so why watch Ryan, babble about TRT, but I guess fucking you guys rock. So thanks for coming, and I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to do a live stream at 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, so you'll get the notification on the channel. If not, just make sure that on your subscribed thing for our channel that you've got noties on. I love you guys. Kick ass, rock on. Be safe tonight if you go out. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll talk to you in the morning. Okay? All right. Peace.